Hi everyone, so today I'm on page 94 of our Starlight book and we are going to be looking at two new poems today, two poems about the rain. So last week we read two poems about the wind and we discussed how they were both about the same topic but very different poems. So let's read through these poems about the rain and we can compare them then and see are they very similar or maybe they're very different. So I'm going to start reading the first one, Rain Poem. Rain Poem by Elizabeth Coatsworth. The rain was like a little mouse, quiet, small and grey. It pattered all around the house and then it went away. It did not come, I understand, indoors at all until it found an open window and left tracks across the sill. So the poet here is comparing the rain to a mouse. She says the rain is quiet, small and grey, just like a little mouse would be. She starts off the poem with a simile. The rain was like a little mouse. This poem is very descriptive and it really appeals to our sense of sight. It creates lots of lovely imagery for us. I really like the last line where it says, I found an open window and left tracks across the sill. So you can imagine kind of a small light pattering of rain along the windowsill there, just like the tracks a little mouse might leave. This poem kind of reminds me of the Whisper Whisper Man poem, because the poet there compared the wind to a man, and the poet here is comparing the rain to a mouse. So they're both quite imaginative poems. Okay, let's read the next poem, Weather by Eve Merriam. Dot a dot 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 a dot dot, spotting the window pane. Spack a spack speck, flick a flack fleck, freckling the window pane. A spatter, a scatter, a wet cat a clatter, a splatter, a rumble outside. Umbrella, 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 bumbershoot barrel of rain. Slosh a galosh, slosh a galosh, slither and slather a glide. A puddle a jump, a puddle a jump, a puddle a jump, puddle splosh. A juddle a pump, a luddle a dump, a pudmuddle jump in and slide. Wow, this poem is much harder than it looks to read. This is a really fun poem with lots of silly words in it, like a juddle, a pump, a luddle, a dump. So the poet really creates a sense of fun in this poem. She uses lots of sound words in this poem, like dot a dot dot dot, a spatter, a scatter, wet cat a clatter, a rumble. So we can nearly hear the rain, and I think the rain sounds much heavier in this poem than it did in the first poem. She also creates lots of lovely imagery in this poem. So spotting the window pane, I can see the rain kind of creating little spots on the window. Or a puddle, a jump, a puddle, a jump. I can imagine children jumping in puddles in their welly boots here. So two poems about the rain here and two very, very different poems again. So it's interesting to see the different ideas the two poets have when they're writing about the same subject. We might be able to take some inspiration from these poems when we're writing our own poems this week. So now we're going to look at section A, comprehension fact-finding questions. So question 1, in Rain poem, what does the poet compare rain to? So I think that should be an easy enough question. We discussed that already. What does Elizabeth Coatsworth say the rain is like here in this poem? Question 2, in Rain poem, how does the rain get inside the house? So back we go to Rain poem and scan through the poem and see how it came inside the house. So I can see there at the end it says, it found an open window and left tracks across the sill. Question 3, in Weather, what animal does the poet mention? So we're looking at our weather poem here and trying to find an animal that it mentions. So scanning through the poem, I can see there in the third verse it says, a spatter, a scatter, a wet cat, a clatter. Question 4. What are the last two verses of Weather about? So going back to our weather poem and looking at the last two verses. A puddle, a jump, a puddle, a jump, a puddle, a jump, puddle, splosh. A juddle, a pump, a luddle, a dump, a pud muddle, jump in and slide. So what do you think the poet is talking about there? It sounds a bit silly, but I think she's creating a lovely image here. Question 5. What is the name of the poet who wrote Weather? Well, that's very easy. Going back to our weather poem, you can see the name of the poet is written there down the bottom of the poem. And the star question is a lovely question today, so we might give that a try. Think of a different title for rain poem. So rain poem was the one where the poet compared the rain to a mouse. So if you were to give that a different title, what would you pick? So we'd like you to complete section A into your English copy, please, and then take a picture and post to secA. Any questions, just ask.